Caribbean. This morning, July 1st, 2022, I am coming to you live from Midtown Paramaribo, Suriname, where the morning rush is filled with additional zest. Today marks an auspicious date as we commemorate the abolition of slavery in Suriname and we celebrate emancipation since 1863 during a public holiday known as Kitty Kotti, a phrase meaning broken chains. It becomes particularly significant then to reflect on the fact that 159 years later, we are coming together to prepare for the 43rd CARICOM Conference of Heads of Government, evincing how deeply we are rooted in the process of our own sovereignty, development, and regional integration. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Business and International Cooperation of the Republic of Suriname, His Excellency Albert Ramdin, has the honor of leading the organization for this conference. My co-presenter, Kimberly Ramkalawan, spoke with the Minister to understand the full scope of the preparations and what we can expect from the 43rd Conference of Heads of Government.
Good day and welcome to Good Morning Caribbean. Today I have with me the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Business and International Cooperation of Suriname, Mr. Albert Ramdin. Welcome and thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us here in Suriname.
Absolutely, and we look forward to next week when we have all the Caribbean in Suriname.
Right, so tell me a bit about this year. This year we have the 43rd CARICOM Heads of Government meeting here taking place in Suriname with President Santokhi taking over the chairmanship. Tell me a bit about the significance of Suriname hosting this year's conference, in particular to what you all would like seen done.
Yes, it's an important meeting, and not only because it's all the CARICOM leaders who will be present here, but it's really the first time the conference will take place after the COVID-19 pandemic. We met earlier this year in Belize in the intersessional meeting, but I believe that this one, the conference has also a little bit more of a heavier agenda. So it's great to have all the leaders coming to Suriname. It's one of the countries some of the leaders have not visited, so that makes it an extra, gives it an extra dimension. We have also new leaders who just were recently elected, Bahamas, St. Lucia, and also recently Grenada. All of them will be here. So for us, the significance is that for a country on the northwestern coast of South America, not part of the islands in the Caribbean, that we can hold the conference. It's also happening for the first time. So in that sense, also historic. President Santokhi has participated actively in the period that he was the incoming chair. So he is ready to go for the position of chairman of CARICOM. And in the discussions we had so far, a couple of issues came across which are relevant. One of them is the strengthening of unity and collaborative cooperation within the region, especially in the area of CSME, the single market and economy, taking away all the barriers, the non-tariff barriers, which are needed to strengthen our local, and with local I mean the Caribbean economy. And that is significant in the context of post-COVID recovery, but also in the context of the global challenges which we face. And that's the second topic which I think will draw a lot of attention. So the single market economy, the rebuilding of our economies, the issue of financing for development, but also climate financing. And then we always speak about security and the impact of insecurity in the region. So that will be on the agenda. And of course, energy, where Trinidad is providing leadership in the portfolio as a portfolio holder for the energy security, that will be on the agenda as well. We expect strong discussions, but also new directions to come out of this. It's important that the Caribbean community understands that the world is changing, and we with that as well. It has an impact. The war in Ukraine has an impact on our prices, on our livelihood, but also we need to get used to, trying to be cautious here, we have to get used to the new circumstances in this region. Suriname and Guyana becoming new oil and gas producers. That will change a little bit the face of the Caribbean integration process. So all these things will come up, and I hope for a lively debate, a meaningful debate, and that we can come out of this meeting with strong commitment of all political leaders to the unity, the integration, but also stronger collaboration among each others.
So President Santoki leads a quasi-cabinet on industry. You've listed quite numerous topics of interest. Tell me a bit about how all of that ties into what you all are leading on the industry front.
Yeah, so in Belize, when we were there for the Intersessional, this discussion already started on a new way of dealing with Caribbean economy and the recovery. And one of the things was noticed and observed there very strongly is that we pay attention to all sectors in our economies: food, agricultural food policy, which is led by Guyana. We deal with energy, which is led by Trinidad and Tobago. We deal with the single market and economy, which is led by Barbados. But one of the sectors, critical sectors in the economy, which we need to address and become much stronger in, is industrial policy. It's part of the Treaty of Chaguaramas, but it was never implemented or followed up on. So at that meeting, the proposal was made that Suriname would take the lead on industrial policy development in the region. And the reason why it's so important now is that what we have learned from the COVID-19 crisis, but also with the climate change issues, is that we need to make sure that our own economies become a little bit more independent from supplies from all over the world. In terms of pharmaceuticals, for instance, the COVID-19 clearly demonstrated that we were at the back end of supplies for different reasons. We don't want that to happen again. So that there is an industry that can be developed. Food supplies. The Caribbean imports for more than $6 billion in food supplies. Agriculture produce, vegetables, fruits, meat, and so on. A large part of that can be supplied through processing, industrial processing, by Suriname, Guyana, and Belize because we have land. So out of this, a lot of new initiatives are being proposed, like agriculture production in Suriname and Guyana, and then processed in Barbados for the supply of the whole region, and even export beyond the Caribbean market. And these are the things which will create a sustainable structural economy where we will not be dependent on others, but at the same time providing jobs, economic securities, income, and I think that is something which is going to be critical for the future of the region.
Now, this year's conference, you all also welcome a lot of numerous guests outside of CARICOM. Tell me a bit about who we can expect visiting this year's meeting, participating.
So apart from the 15 leaders, the 15 member states of CARICOM which are invited, of which out of the 15, I believe 14 will be here at the highest level with their Prime Minister and President. We have invited the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, who will be arriving on Saturday, and we'll have a very much focused program on the environment. We'll have a discussion on Sunday with the leaders. We have also the Secretary General of the OACPS, that's the African, Caribbean, Pacific countries, who is based in Brussels, and who will speak about the relationship with Europe, but also in terms of the post-Cotonou agreement. And then the Secretary General of the Association of Caribbean States will be also attending this conference. These are important regional organizations which create a scope for regional cooperation, multilateral cooperation. We will also receive the Minister of State of Saudi Arabia, who will have also on the 4th of July an encounter with the heads of government of the Caribbean. So it will be quite busy because there is a hectic agenda. We have some social events as well. Tree planting by all the Caribbean leaders to commemorate the start of the 50th anniversary is one of them. And there is the 10K road race on Sunday. We have the traditional walk we call it a walk of 1 mile for the leaders themselves. And then, of course, there is a lot of culture and opening, the conference of the OCC award on Sunday to 4 prominent Caribbean personalities. So it will be a hectic program in a very short time frame, but we believe that with all these guests from within CARICOM, from outside the region, we believe that we can at least have substantive discussions about the future of the Caribbean and for improving the life of the people of the Caribbean.
A lot of what's been on the agenda at most conferences, especially post COP26, has been climate change. I know you would have touched on it earlier as we spoke. Can you give us an idea what Suriname would like seen done? A lot of focus has been done on the importance of the Amazon.
Yes. President Santokhi is someone who likes the debate and the analysis, but in the end what we like is action, and decision making going forward. So there will be a need, and I take the liberty to say this without putting anybody on a little bit on the spot here, but there will be a need for leaders to engage very openly, frankly about issues and make decisions. And that will be the benefit of this conference, to have decisions that will go a long way in terms of all the follow-up that needs to be done. For instance, on climate change. We know all what the problem is. We experience it in Suriname with floods currently, as you may have noticed. The rainfall continues while we skip the dry season. That's all climate change. There is a climate crisis. So climate financing, for us to be able to adapt or mitigate the impact of climate change, must be high on the agenda. What we see, all kinds of noble objectives and aspirations, but when you look for where is the assistance then to support countries in overcoming those challenges, it becomes very difficult. So we have to be very clear about it, that the mechanisms, the financial instruments which are now in place are not sufficient. Are not sufficient because the Caribbean doesn't benefit from it, while the Caribbean is one of the regions mostly impacted by climate crisis. Look, Suriname is for more than 90% forested. High forestation, low deforestation. So we contribute to oxygen production. We are a sink for carbon emissions, but we don't benefit from that. We don't get compensated for that. So we have to talk about all these new instruments which need to come in place to facilitate the development of the country without jeopardizing the environment. And these are the decisions we need to make and express those very strongly at the upcoming COP27 summit in Egypt. That's only on climate change. But when we speak about financing for development, eligibility criteria, we are considered an MDC, a middle income country, while if you look at our debt ratio, we are not. But because of that ranking, that categorization by the World Bank and the IMF, we are not eligible for certain financial instruments worldwide. It's a disadvantage. So we need to talk about these things and express that view very strongly. And one place to do it is when President Santokhi will represent the region at the G20 summit, which will be held in November in Bali in Indonesia. It's a great gesture, I would say, from the Indonesian chair to invite CARICOM, in the person of the chairman of CARICOM, to Bali to express our views on the financial infrastructure in the world at a global level. But these are the issues: the ranking, the eligibility criteria. That's on financing. But there is a lot of work to be done within our own region, which I indicated before. The single market and economy has to become a real single market and economy. Too many barriers. Yesterday I had a very productive and good conversation with a delegation from TTMA currently in Paramaribo with 23 business persons. And we discussed the same things there, is we need to get rid of the non-tariff barriers so that we can do business. So we see that it's growing, but leaders will need to provide some more guidance and make decisions on these things. And these are sometimes difficult decisions because the national circumstances play a role. But if we want to be a region, we'll need to demonstrate that we are a region.
Definitely. Now, Suriname also comes on the heels of hosting the Oil and Gas Summit this week. And a lot of what's on everyone's mind is the energy crisis and oil and gas prices. Going forward into CARICOM's meeting, quickly, what would you all like to see discussed and come together on representing the Caribbean, on reducing these prices and the impact that it's having on our nations?
Energy security is critical. We expect Prime Minister Rowley to come up with a view on how to tackle this issue of course, the current challenges, high fuel prices, but also the issue of gas supplies and the development of gas within the region. I think we had fruitful conversations on this matter during the Los Angeles Summit of the Americas, where we spoke about lifting the sanctions, for instance, with regard to Venezuela, so that Trinidad could utilize the gas resources there as well. I think every country in the world is scrambling for gas supplies and energy supplies. We have Guyana and Suriname now as major potential oil and gas suppliers. So one of the things in the whole issue of how we deal with energy is to combine and mobilize all the resources within the region. Trinidad and Tobago's experience in oil and gas, Guyana's availability of oil, and they've started already. We have more than 40 years experience in oil, albeit on shore, and we have Barbados also with potential gas. So these four countries can work together and must work together. And for that we need to sit down and develop a more strategic outlook on how this can happen. This is going to go not for a few years, this is going to go for decades to come. So you need political commitment, and you need the plans in place for the right investments and the right negotiating contracts with international companies. In that sense, I believe this region has great opportunities.
Thank you, Minister Ramdin, for your time with us this morning, and we look forward to seeing you a lot more during the next upcoming days.
I'll be around. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we thank you for joining us here on Good Morning Caribbean.
Thank you, Kimberly, and thank you, of course, His Excellency Albert Ramdin, for giving us a better idea of what to expect in the coming few days as the preparations go forth in full swing. For all of those coming into Suriname for the 43rd CARICOM Conference of Heads of Government, we extend a special welcome. We wish you a thorough enjoyment of Surinamese hospitality, and more importantly, a fruitful discussion as we move forward towards strengthening our Caribbean.